I honestly have forgotten how to podcast. Not that I did it for very long before I left. It was like 2 or 3 weeks. And now I am back to having absolutely no idea what I'm doing. So bear with me for this episode while we get through all the things that we have to talk about. Today is going to be the episode where we sit down and talk all things Royal Easter Show. So if you're new around here, welcome, first of all. And second of all, if you are new, you probably would not know that for the first 3 weeks of April, I took my small business to Nurture Your Soul to the Sydney Royal Easter Show to have a little booth there, to meet you guys, to hang out, and to just sell a bunch of our products. So for today's episode, I'm just going to be diving straight into my experience at the show. I'm going to take you guys through beginning to end, my emotions leading up to it, my emotions during it, and now my emotions after it. I don't even know how to explain the month of April for me. It has been emotional. I feel like that's a good word to describe it. Emotional. It's been a lot. There's been good emotions, there's been bad emotions, there's been literally every emotion that you could think of. I've probably experienced it within the past 2 to 3 weeks. I asked you guys over on the business Instagram if any of you had any questions about the show or anything in particular that you would like me to talk about in today's episode. And I did get a couple of things and topics that people wanted me to touch on. So we will get onto those. But I think I'm just going to start from the very beginning. Well, not the very beginning, but the beginning of April when I packed up my bags and I got ready to head to the city for 2 to 3 weeks. I'll talk you guys through a bunch of the different people that I met, the small businesses that I recommend purchasing from after meeting the owners of them, and, you know, buying from other small businesses at the show as well. Overall, I do want to say that it was a very helpful experience, I would say. I don't regret doing it. I am very, very glad that I did do it. But coming home, she's a little bit emotional. She's a little bit all over the place. It was a massive, massive month. It has been a massive month that has just flown by so freaking quickly. If you had told me that the past 3 weeks of my life were 3 weeks and they're all done and over, I mean, like sitting here right now, I'm like, no. It's been like, I don't know, a week. I was there for maybe 3 or 4 days. That's what it feels like. Also, if I do sound a little bit sick at the moment, it's because it was so much that it fully took it out of me. I came home and I have had a little bit of a cold ever since. I'm totally fine. And I did want to film this episode a lot earlier than what I am right now. Today is currently the Monday before this video goes live. So I did want to film this as soon as I got home, but my voice, she was just not having it. She was like, Lacey, chill the fuck out. You need to not do anything for like 3 to 4 business days. Please. Thank you. Once again, at the beginning of this episode, I do want to mention that we do have an email address for future episodes. If you guys would like to write in and suggest any topics, or if you have any questions or anything that you would like to hear my advice or opinion on, please feel free to email our podcast email. It's just to nurtureyoursoulpodcast@gmail.com. I cannot wait to open your guys' emails and read them and talk about things that you would like me to talk about on the podcast, because otherwise I'm just sitting here and I'm just talking shit and I have no idea what I'm doing. I've just, like, for today's episode, I have absolutely no plan. I just sat down and I was like, right, we're talking about the show. That's it. But if you guys send me emails and topics and questions and stuff, we have a little bit more structure and it's not as chaotic and all over the place. Yeah, I guess let's just get into the very first day of the show, the very first few days before the show. So the date is Sunday, the 2nd of April. Let's start there. So for those of you that watched the vlog that went up on my YouTube channel a few days before this podcast, you would have had a little sneak peek into April 2nd. I packed up all my bags. My mum stayed with me the night before. So we ended up packing the car nice and early, as we normally do. Me and my mum are very, very similar in that way. If we have somewhere to be, if we have somewhere to go, we just want to leave as soon as we're up and ready. So we didn't really have to be in Sydney until like 10 o'clock at the latest, but we ended up just you know, packing our stuff up, getting on the road, heading off nice and early. I got a decent amount of editing done on the way because I didn't have to drive, which was so nice. I literally do not remember if there has ever been a time when I've been going to Sydney and I didn't have to drive myself. So it was actually just so freaking nice to be able to just be a passenger and just get a little bit of work done while we were on the way. It made me feel extra productive as well. And if you know me, I love being as productive as I possibly can 24 hours a day all the time. So traveling and getting to work at the same time was just, I don't know, it made me feel accomplished. I was getting two things done at once, you know? We ended up getting to Sydney. We had to go and pick up the passes for our car, which we got super easily, no hassle, no stress. We ended up sticking them to my mum's car. I'm trying to remember whether we actually went to the showground and unpacked the car on that same day, or whether we actually went the next day to start unpacking the car. But either way, we spent the next 3 days unpacking the van and setting up my little booth. Now, my little booth, she was cute. We'll use that word and not any negative word because she was smaller than I imagined. So we're just gonna say she was really cute, nice and tiny. And prior to going, I did not, which stupid on my behalf. Super stupid. I actually didn't measure anything. I didn't measure out what a 2x2 square would be. I also didn't even measure out to see whether my table would fit in a 2x2 environment. I just kind of was like, you know what? This is what I have and we're going to be working with what I have. In the end, I figured out a way to make it all work. But if you came to the show and if you saw me in my little tiny booth, you would have seen that my table literally just fit in the 2 meters. My table must be like just shy of 2 meters long. So we had to make do each day on how I got in and out of my little stall. I literally had to make a little pathway underneath the table. Underneath the table was full of boxes, by the way. The amount of stock that I brought is a whole nother story that we will be going into. But my little space underneath this table to squeeze under each and every day, I had to crawl underneath my table. It was very small. It was a small little gap and I felt absolutely so ridiculous having to climb underneath this table every time I wanted to go to the bathroom, every time I wanted to go and get food, which wasn't too often because I really did try and buy all my food at the beginning of the day to avoid having to crawl underneath my table in the middle of a super busy day. I felt so unprofessional doing this, and every time someone would see me, whether that was just like the other businesses around me or customers, every time someone would see me crawl underneath my little table, I got so embarrassed. I was like, this is just so not professional at all. But you know what? We make do with what we've got. I had so much product that I do not think I'd be able to have a smaller table even if I wanted to. Like, to be able to display all my products, I needed the entirety of that whole space. So if you did come and say hello at the show and purchase some things, first of all, I'm so incredibly grateful for you. Thank you so much. It was so freaking cool getting to meet so many of you guys and having so many people come up to my table, my little booth, my little tiny square and just say that they're from the TikTok or the Instagram or that they've been following for ages. There's one girl in particular that sticks out to me the most. She came up to me at the very end of the very last day. So she got very over it and exhausted me because by the end of the last day, I was fucked. I was so tired and I was so over it. I did the full 2 to 3 weeks on my own. My mum helped me set up and pack down, but other than that, I was doing the 12-hour days on my own. So this poor girl, she got the version of me that was just so done and so tired. And this is my formal apology. Also, I apologize, my second formal apology to you, that I did not get your name. And it makes me really, really sad, because the whole point of the story is that this one girl said that she's been following my personal Instagram for years, which that is like OG. That is an OG girly right there. Someone who has been following since before the business is insane. So if you are listening, which I hope that you are, please send me a DM or something so I know exactly who you are. I was trying to get so good, and to be fair, I was doing pretty good at asking and making sure that I knew everyone's names that came up and said hello from TikTok or Instagram, but you just got me on just the worst day out of all of them. But either way, I am so incredibly grateful for you, and my interaction with you in particular sticks out to me the most. But that's not to say that all of the other ones weren't amazing. I love meeting you guys. It is one of my favorite things in the whole entire world. It fills my cup all the way up to the top, to the point that it's like overflowing. It really was the one thing that excited me and like lifted me up a little bit each day. For a lot of the days I was there just, counting down the time, looking at the clock. And that's not to say that the whole experience was bad or whatever. As I've said, I'm going to go into all the little bits about everything, but it was just a very, very long time, a very exhausting few weeks. I just am so incredibly grateful. I think that is the number one thing that sticks out to me the most as being my favorite part about the whole entire experience. Just getting to meet people and see people face to face that otherwise I would just talk to behind a screen or through DMs or, just through TikTok lives or the ordering and packaging of the orders. That has been our only way of communication. Do you know what I mean? And to put faces to names, it just really connects all the dots for me, and it really does allow me to physically see that To Nurture Your Soul and everything that my business is about and everything that I've been working on for the past almost 2 freaking years now. That's insane. But everything that I've been working on for that whole entire time is affecting and helping real live people. And I feel like sometimes when you do what I do and having it be so digital based, it does get to a point where the lines can become a little bit blurry in the way of I know I'm helping people, but real people. Sometimes I sit here and I forget that it's real people on the other side of this camera or this microphone. I don't know. I think that's just how social media is. You forget that there is actual real people behind all of these things and who love my products and purchase my products and say all these nice things and are so in love with what I do just as much as I am. When you see words on a computer screen or a phone or whatever, they obviously mean a lot to me and I appreciate them all so much, but having them turn into real life people and things and situations and stories, I don't know. Once again, it fills my cup up so much and it makes me so incredibly grateful for this life that I have stumbled into over the past few years. It's crazy. I never, ever, ever would have imagined that this would be exactly what I'm doing right now, but I'm so grateful for it and I love it so, so much. Let's now move on to talking a little bit more about the business side of things and whether or not I think it was valuable for my business. Let's get into all the nitty-gritty about that, because after the whole setup and the first couple days, it all was very much the same. The days were identical, other than the people that I met and the amount of money that I made on each day, which is something that I also want to go into and talk about as well. So I think I'm going to go and have a look at all of the different questions. I asked you guys on Instagram to let me know if there was any topics or questions you had about the show. So I'm going to jump on and have a look at all the screenshots that I have taken. I'm just going to go through and do a few general ones first. Ones that are super simple and easy to answer, and questions that, I have gotten in real life, and also questions that I've gotten from you guys online. So one of the questions that I have gotten a lot is how much was my stall? My stall was $2,500 for the 2 weeks. So it was like 2,500 and something, which for 2 weeks, don't quote me, I may be wrong. I did the maths a very long time ago, but from memory, I think it's like $220 something a day, or I don't know, a little bit over $200 a day, which to be honest, I think is a relatively fair price. I am extremely grateful for my little booth. I do take the piss and I do say that it was very tiny, 2x2. I called it my little jail cell for a lot of the time that I was there, just to be funny. But I am very grateful for the space that I did have. A lot of the other stalls were 4, 5, 6 times that price. And when I got the email in my inbox asking if I would like to be a part of the Easter show, I only got the option to have the 2x2. So that was the only thing offered to me when I got the email. If I had gotten an email for any other space or size, I would have looked at it and laughed. Like, I would have laughed out loud. It was good for what it was, but I also see the value in upgrading and going to the next size up, which is the 3x3. With my little 2x2, I found that I could only have 1 or 2 people standing looking at my products at a time. And if there was that 1 to 2 groups of people standing looking at my products, they would take up the whole front space. So I had lots of people walking past that didn't even get a chance to look at my products because I did have those couple people standing looking already, which is great to have people already standing there looking at your products. But a lot of the time people look and don't actually buy anything, or if they do buy something, it's just, 1 or 2 little things. So I did take a mental note and realize that the fact that I had a smaller front space where people would walk up and stand and look at my products, it did, I think, alter my sales in the end. At the end of the day, there was nothing that I could really do about that because, like I said, going up to the next size, 3x3, which ideally would be the perfect space for me. 3x3 is the space that I have at my regular markets at Homegrown. The difference in the 2x2 compared to the 3x3, you wouldn't think is much, but it is a lot. It's a massive difference when it comes to setting up and making things look aesthetically pleasing, I guess. And I don't know, even just that 1 meter difference could be the difference between decent few amount of sales, which I wouldn't have realized until I went and did it and experienced it. And I'm glad that I know that now. I know that my products work best in minimum 3x3. But yeah, for the 2x2, it was $2,500. And after talking to a lot of the people around me, if you wanted to go up to a 3x3, it was $8,500. Just for an extra meter by meter. It was that is absolutely ridiculous to me. I never in a million years would pay that much for a 3x3 at a show. I, from the very beginning, was contemplating whether or not I wanted to do it. From the very beginning, the very first thought in my mind was people do not go to the show to shop for small businesses. So I don't know. I have a lot of friends that went and did the 3x3 and they had told me that they did great. So happy for them. So amazing for them. Go them. Very excited for you. Me personally, no way in hell would I ever pay $8,000 for a space. That's craziness to me. That is absolutely insane. But yeah, I didn't know that that was the cost of it until I went there and I spoke to other people who had bigger spaces than me. There was a couple stalls across from me. One was a little bit bigger than a 3x3. I think it was 3x4 or I don't know, something that was only 1 or 2 meters bigger. It was $10,000. $10,000? Oh, you're absolutely joking. That has to be a joke. It was April Fool's the day before I went. Happy April Fool's, because that's a fucking joke to me. I got the cheapest option available. That was the only one that I was offered. I'm very grateful for the fact that I was able to pay that money in the first place, because even 2.5 grand is a lot. Like, that is a lot, especially for these big events like shows. A lot of these places want this money up front within like 5 to 6 weeks of you agreeing. Something that I also want to mention is the fact that I'm not from Sydney, so I had to get a hotel, and I also just kind of like to lump the sum of the hotel in with the cost of my booth, because at the end of the day, that's how much it cost for me to be there. I had to stay in Sydney because I didn't know anyone or have any friends or family that I could stay with. So the price of my hotel for 16 nights was 2.5 grand as well. In total, for me to be able to attend and be at the show every single day, it cost me 5 grand, which is craziness to think about, because that doesn't even include any of the product that I bought to take to the show, which is a perfect transition into one of the most annoying things about this whole entire experience, and that is how much this company, the Royal Easter Show, whoever the fuck runs it, whoever the fuck sends out those emails to all the people who are going to the show every single week. Okay, let me just take a second to calm down here, because it is quite frustrating. It is. So these emails that I was getting prior to attending the Royal Easter Show in Sydney were saying that it was going to be the craziest time of my life. These emails were giving rough estimates on how much each individual would spend in the pavilion that I was in. It was giving rough estimates on how much a family would spend in the pavilion that I was in. And it was also telling me rough estimates of the amount of people that walked through the pavilion each and every day, which the numbers were in the hundreds of thousands. And then weekly, we were getting emails letting us know the updates on ticket sales. So we were constantly getting emails saying, amazing news, everybody. Ticket sales are up 110% compared to before COVID. Tickets are up 250% compared to 2018. And in 2018, businesses made this much and this much and this much. So you sit there and you look at the statistics that they have given to you in these emails, and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do a little quick math, and I'm going to compare, my regular markets with the amount of people that I know walk through there, the amount that I make on a regular day, compared to the numbers that they are telling me in these emails. And it was shocking. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to sell hundreds and hundreds of books. I'm going to sell out of everything, and it's going to be freaking amazing. It's going to be the best time of my life. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I get home. It's going to be crazy amazing. So I had plans to originally get 400 copies of each book that I have on my website. That's 400 of 8 different books. In the end, for me, my funds did not allow me to do that. Thank fucking God. If I had done that, I would be sitting here right now in a ball, crying, having a mental breakdown, not knowing what the fuck to do and where to store 400 times 8 books, not to mention the 300 tote bags that I ordered, the 300 pencil cases that I ordered, all the other little bits and pieces that I ordered as extras to go along with everything that I was selling at the show. The most annoying part about everything, can you tell I'm passionate about it? It's because they were full of shit. Like, I don't know, and every single other business owner that was there, that had a booth, that experienced the whole thing with me for the first time, agreed. And I feel like I should say this is all in my opinion. This is all my opinion. And this is just from my experience, in my opinion. Let's just say that. So yeah, the amount of stock that I now have sitting in my little tiny apartment is insane. I did pretty well considering at the show once I readjusted my expectations from these emails. That's another thing though, the complete mental fuck around that day one was for me. Day one was my worst day in sales. And to be completely open and transparent with you guys, on day one I made like $350 or something, which is the equivalent, or a lot less than, to be honest, my regular homegrown markets that I do here in Newcastle every single weekend. My average at the homegrown markets in the spring and summertime is anywhere between $500 and $1,000. But on that first day, I made $350 or whatever it was, 320, 300, I don't know, 300 and something. And I was like, oh no. I went back to my hotel that night and I almost cried. I was like, what have I done? I've spent thousands and thousands. Like, guys, think about the fact that just the cost of the booth and the hotel for me was $5,000. That's not even including all of the costs of my products. So try and imagine how much money I've spent on this show, and then to go home after day one with a couple $100. I'm actually quite proud of myself at the fact that I didn't have a mental breakdown. When I tell you I spent all of my savings on this show because these emails made it seem like it was guaranteed. These emails made it seem like it was going to be the craziest, busiest time ever. And I guess that is, partially on me. It's a lot on me for believing these emails and being like, oh my God, like, I don't know, you guys know how excited I was for it. And like the excitement does make you think that it's going to be probably a lot more than what it is. But these, I know I'm saying it a lot, but these emails made me think that I needed so much stock. So I spent all of my savings to the point where I had less than $1,000 to my name. And I am just now being like fully open about it. I had less than $1,000 to my name. And after day one, making $300, I was like, I'm so screwed. I am so screwed. I had a little chit chat to myself that night and I was like, you know what? Day one, it's just the first day. We're going to go back the second day and we're going to see how the second day is. And I'm going to give myself the weekend and we will reevaluate after the weekend. And then we can start to freak out or not freak out depending on how the weekend goes. So after that, I went to bed. I listened to my money affirmation YouTube video that I do most nights. And it actually came in handy. It, I think, worked. I ended up going the next day and I made over $1,000, I think. Or maybe it was like between 800 and 1,000, which still was not my expectations on the event. But it was manageable compared to $300. I ended up speaking to a lot of other small business owners. Everyone had a really, really shit first day. I think lots of people were still at work. Kids were still at school. It was just kind of like, I don't know, it was a weird day. So then after that, the following next few days was the long weekend, and this was my best weekend by far. I ended up posting a TikTok that went really, really well while I was there. I think currently it's at 11,000 views. So that helped me out a lot. I had so many people walk past my booth saying, I saw that one on TikTok. I saw that one on TikTok. Oh my God, we need to go look at that. I saw it on TikTok. And it was so cool. It was really, really cool. So yeah, I had a really good weekend because of those two TikToks, I think. And it's so funny to sit down and think back on it because people coming up to my booth from those TikTok videos trickled on throughout the whole week. So it's so crazy for me to sit down and think, like, if I didn't post that TikTok, I genuinely do not think I would have made anywhere near as much money as I had made, which would have been even crazier compared to those emails that we were getting. I think the number one thing that I learned throughout this whole process is to not trust emails from people, which you'd think would probably be, common knowledge, I guess, but I figured, they're the royalies to show officials. They would not lie to me. They would not embellish the truth at all. So that's my little ramble on that. We started at how much did my store cost and we got to here. Another question that I got asked a couple times was how much of everything that I sell. I kind of touched on that a little bit just then, but realistically, I don't know. I haven't sat down and actually, figured out how many of each product I sold, which I do need to do because I do want to sit down and figure out which was my most popular product. I think at the end of the day, the bookmarks were the most popular, which was the perfect amount. I wanted to make 250, but in the end, I only was able to make 200 within the time frame that I had, and I ended up selling out of all of them except for 5. So I sold 195 bookmarks, which if you do the maths on that, I sell them for $15 each. 15 times 295 is $4,400 that I made just from selling those bookmarks. It's crazy. They're my most popular product. So that's how many of the bookmarks I sold. I think the most popular book was definitely the Planting Seeds book, which is our coloring book full of plants and cactuses and all greenery. It's one of my personal favorites. I love it, probably because my favorite color is green, and getting to sit there and color in all these different plants, different shades of green, brings me so much joy. But yeah, it's weird. The Planting Seeds one has never been a popular seller at markets, so to see it be so popular at the show was insane. It made me so happy. We also sold out of the zodiac sign book, which is no longer being made. I will be making a new one sometime in the near future, so don't freak out or stress out too much about that. I will be doing a completely new zodiac sign book, one that is a lot more unique and personal, but we did sell out of that one. And we also sold out of the original Bloody Good, which again, crazy. All of the OG books were selling out, but there were also books that I didn't think would do well, so I didn't purchase hundreds of copies of. The books that I did purchase hundreds of copies of is the Anxiety book, Mental Health Monsters, the Easter book. I ordered over 200 Easter coloring books because I was like, Easter show, Easter coloring book. They're going to be popping. They're going to be going crazy. I think I sold maybe 4 Easter coloring books the whole 2 weeks. An Easter coloring book is a very seasonal product too. So if I have not already by the time that this video goes live, those Easter books are going to be 50% off on the website. So please go and purchase one if you have not already. 50% off means they're like $12.50. So please help me get rid of them. I'm not even kidding. I had to buy a whole new bookshelf for all of the leftover stock that I have. I'm laughing, but I have cried. I have. So another one of the questions that got asked on Instagram was, has it helped you and your business grow or given it the means or exposure to? Which answering that question is so incredibly difficult because I think at the end of the day, the thing that gave me the exposure and the thing that helped me get a lot of the sales over the course of the 2 weeks that I was there was TikTok. TikTok was the main reason I was getting half of my sales. Over 50% of the people that purchased from me at the show had previously told me that they saw my TikToks over the weekend or over the week. TikTok was the thing that gave me the exposure, but the Royal Easter Show was a trending topic at the time. So I think if I was to make any other video at home, if I didn't go to the show, they probably wouldn't have performed as well, knowing my TikTok history. So I don't know, it's so hard. I think to answer that question in the most concise way that I possibly can, I think it definitely was 50-50. And giving them 50% is pretty generous. Maybe like 40-60. I showed up to the show, but I'm positive without all of the extra work and effort that I put in on socials behind the scenes, I wouldn't have made anywhere near as much as I did, and I wouldn't have connected with as many people as I did either. And I know a lot of people that did find me from those TikToks that came and purchased in person, and I feel like seeing the person behind the business is such an important thing, especially for small businesses. I think seeing the person who runs it, seeing the person who creates the product is one of the main things that really connects you to a business and allows you to then go ahead and follow the socials and purchase online and like do all of the extra things that small businesses need to continue to keep going, if that makes sense. I think that it has helped me build that connection face to face with my customers, and in a way it benefit me as a creative person person and as the person who comes up with product ideas for this business, it helped me see real people and kind of reconnect on that emotional level with what people want to see from my business and what people are interested in. It was really interesting on a side note to see which products people are always gravitated to first, or also the products that people like. Most of the time people aren't purchasing when they look at your stuff. They look, they go, oh my God, that's so cool. Oh my God, love it, whatever, walk away. But even through just that and not converting those people into actual sales, you do start to gain an understanding of what products people are gravitated towards or what products catch people's eyes straight away. The Mental Health Monsters book was one that stopped people a lot and got people to walk over to my table. Same with the You Have Always Been Enough t-shirt that always caught people's eyes as they were walking past. It was so freaking sweet to me whenever I would see an older couple, like, you know, a mum and a dad walking by, just the two of them, and then the dad would go, read that, that's for you, or you should get that, or I don't know, whatever. It was just sweet, and it was helpful to see which products were those products that caught people's eyes and that do catch people's eyes. Another question that I got was, did you have any help? I also had this question a lot in person from other small business owners, and since being back at my regular homegrown markets, I've had, you know, other stall holders come up and talk to me and ask me about the show, and that's like a number one question. Did you have any help? Did you do it on your own? I did like 80% of it on my own. I had my mum come and help me to set up and pack down, like I have already said. My mum is just the best. Don't tell her I'm telling you this. She doesn't need to know that. But yeah, I genuinely would not have been able to do this whole entire thing without my mum, honestly. If I didn't have my mum and she wasn't the most helpful person that I have in my life, I wouldn't have even thought about doing this. Like, the only way that this show was possible was because of my mum. So I 100% did have help. My mum helped me to drive down there. It was her van that we went down in, and she helped me pack everything up and drive back home as well. So I'm so incredibly grateful for my mum. I love her lots, but don't tell her that. Okay? Don't tell that. Another really common question was, do I think that I'm going to do it next year? Which I think will be the last question that I will like kind of try and wrap it all up with for the podcast today. It's such a hard question whether I would do it again. It's something that all of us small business owners would talk about every single day. At the end of every day, we would all ask the same question. Do you think you'll do it next year? Do you think you would do it again? It's so hard because you genuinely do not know what the next year will hold. One of the main reasons why I think I did so well is because of TikTok. So if TikTok wasn't around, probably not, to be honest. I had the best time. It was so exhausting, but it was so much fun. And I met so many amazing people, both customers and other business owners. I felt like it was a very positive environment, being surrounded by like-minded people. This is something that I touched on in an episode before I went away, was the fact that going to market and being involved in events like the show just gives me an opportunity to be in the same room or space that's surrounded by a bunch of different people that just enjoy doing the same thing as me, which is creating, working for yourself and making some sort of difference. It was such a good experience. If I got the opportunity again next year, if I got the same email in my inbox, I definitely would contemplate it. I would think on it for a couple days, couple weeks, but I think it would be a very, very tough decision. I think the show is something that I won't actively seek out myself to do every year. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to do it next year. I'm not going to call them up and be like, I had so much fun. This was the best experience ever. Can I come back next year? I'm not going to do that. If the opportunity presents itself to me in a year's time, I'll see where I'm at. If I'm at a place where I can financially do it and I can mentally pick myself up to try and do it again, I probably will, because I have learnt a lot. And I think doing it a second time or a third or a fourth or whatever, I think taking the information and the knowledge that I know now, I'd be able to go into it and also make it a bit more beneficial. Like, I'd be able to get more out of it if I went into it next year or the year after, knowing what I know now? I guess the answer to that is I'm not actively going out of my way seeking it and wanting to go, but if the opportunity finds itself to me, if the universe places it in my lap this time next year, I definitely would contemplate it, and in a way that does not involve me spending thousands of dollars on stock that is now sitting in the bookshelf in my office. But yeah, it was fun. I met so many amazing people. Like I said, it was a very fortunate situation that I was in. I'm extremely grateful and lucky for the fact that I was even chosen to have that email sent to me. That is so crazy to me. And if I think back to a year ago from today, when I just started to kind of get into the idea of potentially doing markets, Lacey a year ago, hearing the fact that she went to the Royal Easter Show when she was just trying to get into little, markets around Newcastle, she would be losing her mind. She'd be going crazy. So yeah, I don't know. When you go to big events like this or have opportunities like this come up in your life and then you get home from them and you sit and you have time to think, it's so crazy to sit and think. Even the difference from my life 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, like it's insane how much has happened in my life that I couldn't have expected this to happen. It wasn't even on my radar. So I don't know, I'm just grateful. Very, very grateful. And I have absolutely loved sitting down and chatting to you guys about this today, because prior to sitting down and filming this podcast today, I have been so incredibly anxious. I have felt so lost with my business and not knowing what to do or where to go from the show. I invested so much time, energy, and money into the show, and I didn't get back what I was expecting or hoping to. So I think I'm just, riding the waves since I've been home. The side of my brain that expected to come home with like $50,000-$60,000 is sitting here and she's like, it just kind of fucks with your head a bit. For the past couple days, I've just kind of been like, well, what was the point in doing all of that? And that's such a silly mindset to have. I need to snap myself out of that, because I need to think about all of the other benefits from it, which is all of the positive things that I've spoken about throughout this whole podcast. And I'm sure throughout the next couple months, I will also continue to see positive things come into my life from the experience at the show. I also have had an increase in online orders since being at the show. When you order on our store, there is a little section that says like, how did you find us, which I love reading. If you guys ever place an order on the store, please make sure to fill that out, because it makes me so excited to see where you guys are coming from. But I have had an increase in online sales, and a lot of people are writing that they found me at the show. So I think it's just going to be a ripple effect. I think I need to take a step back. I need to ground myself, and I just need to remind myself that just because I didn't see the immediate results that I thought I would, that does not mean that there is not going to be a slow growth or a slow, ripple effect? I don't know. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say here. That does not mean that I'm not going to continue to reap the rewards as the months go on. So I guess that's my podcast episode on the show. It was a time. There's a few small businesses that I would definitely recommend going and checking out. If you enjoy following other small businesses, if you like the sound of the products that they create, I definitely recommend checking out Tilia. If you guys like pop culture, fun earrings, little badges, patches, Starbucks cups with fun designs on them. They were the business that was across from me at the show, and they are just two of the most lovely people ever. I'm obsessed with them and their little store. I think it's so cute. Another one is Scent Kissed. Oh my god, they have the best smelling wax melts ever. The main one that I love is called Delight. I bought 2 of them, and I'm definitely going on their website afterwards to repurchase once they're gone, because I am obsessed. So obsessed. I posted on the Instagram story the other day and I was like, guys, if I could bottle this up and wear it as a perfume every single day, I freaking would. It smells so good. Coco Clothing is another beautiful girl that I wouldn't have been able to do the show without. Also Ashley from the Lavina collection. I wouldn't have been able to do the show without her either. Her energy and presence is just so fun and uplifting. She's a very, very easy person to have a conversation with, which I appreciate people like that so freaking much. She does tote bags and fun little earrings, pins and patches as well. They're just a couple of the small businesses that I loved and became friends with at the show. Please, please, please feel free to go check out their stuff. If any of those businesses sound like they would sell things that you would enjoy. I do have a whole small business haul from the show that I'm going to be including in the next vlog that goes up on my YouTube channel, which will be next Tuesday. I've had so many emotions and feelings. I think that's going to be it for today's podcast, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and chit-chatting about the show. I already feel so much better getting all of it off my chest. I feel like now that this podcast episode is filmed, I can move on fully from the show and all of the stress and anxiety that it gave me. So incredibly grateful for the experience and for the people that I met and for all of you guys. Thank you so much. So much. I would not have been able to have this crazy amazing opportunity if it wasn't for you. I just am so lucky, and on the days where I get stressed about money or sustainability or sales or any of that, stupid stuff, I need to sit down, have these chats with you guys or have these chats with myself and just remind myself that I am in such a lucky position in my life right now, and I just need to be present and be grateful in this moment right now for just the really freaking cool shit that I get to do every single day. Not many people get invited to go to the Royal Easter Show and get to live in a different city for 2 weeks for work. That is so freaking cool to me, and I have always wanted to be able to do that for work and as part of whatever it is that I'm doing for my job. I'm just grateful, and I'm glad we had this chat. I feel like this is my pre-therapy before I go to see my normal therapist in a couple of days. Now that I am back home and getting back into the swing of things, please, please, please make sure you submit any questions or topics that you would like me to talk about in the next episode via our email address. Again, the email is tonurtureyoursoulpodcast@gmail.com. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, then please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel right down below if you haven't already. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please don't forget to subscribe to Nurture Your Soul, the podcast, so that you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. We upload every Friday, 7:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I think that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for all of your love and support. I appreciate you always. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will talk to you all in the next one.